My name is Katarina Rankovic. I'm an artist studying at the University of the Arts London, and I want to talk about jealousy as a drive in art making. But I'll just start by introducing you to my work. So on the one side, I do these manneristic ink drawings. My line is informed by a long history that has convoluted it into its habitual present. Behind these lines are many hours spent looking at satellite images of Earth, making self-portraits, doodling on my maths homework, and watching the hands of people drawing who have, in their own turn, a language at their disposal arrived at in a similar manner of observation and reiteration. I'm interested in what happens to me while I draw. I feel like I put myself into the drawings and wriggle into the lines like a skin. An equally important medium to me is my own body. I stage fictional interviews which I record by video or by sound, and in which I play the role of interviewee. Like the drawings, these are improvised. I tell stories from the perspective of an invented persona. I become a Frankenstein's collage of accents, mannerisms, and gestures that I pick up from personalities around me, whether fictitious or real. You're looking at stills of me inhabiting various roles. I was once a Moroccan humanitarian doctor. I was a hysterical life coach. I was an apprentice of alternative medicine. I was a northern lass who likes clubbing and taking selfies. Whether drawing or performing, I began to realize that my urge to make and do these things stems from an itching, a longing to become, if but for a moment, something I admire or envy. I looked at my practice and extrapolated that I seemed to be led by the following formula. Starting with jealousy, add to that empathy, and you get futile reproduction and some novelty. My art does start with jealousy. I want you to imagine a jealousy that is not resentful, but rather a discontented kind of admiration of something. It is a motivating jealousy that inspires desire. I am jealous of the tender line in Winsor McCay's Little Nemo. I'm tantalized by the idea of producing this luxurious little ink line embedded with meaning and enforced with the eloquence of a draughtsman's skill. The line is oozing with description, yet seems so effortlessly made. I'm jealous of how much humanity fits into a single movement in a Pina Bausch choreography. I'm jealous of the delightful vivacity of this bush. I'm jealous of my friend Eyster, who effortlessly sheds expressive gestures and glances that are a treat to notice. I'm jealous of Amélie Poulain's appreciation of daily occurrences, and indeed I'm jealous of that French culture and aesthetic that surrounds her, and which I was not born into. I'm jealous of all these things, not because I would prefer to swap places with those who continually experience them, but because I would, without sacrificing my own history and condition, desire to temporarily steal away a power I haven't deserved. The question is then, what do I do with this jealousy, this irresistible longing to shapeshift? The answer is simply imitation and adoption. I watched this movie when I was 8 years old. I was struck by Moulin's otherness and irresistible power. I took this photo of myself shortly afterwards. A decade later, I still resort to imitation when confronted by this tender jealousy. I don't think I'm alone in that, although perhaps I'm more public about it. I try to rid myself of the shame of copying and allow and even encourage influences to permeate my practice. In fact, I even go so far as to convince myself when I'm drawing or performing that I am something else. This self-deception brings me closer to that power I so desire for myself, without deserving it through experience. A draughtsman has trained the hand. Ella Fitzgerald has trained the voice. I have not trained my voice and cannot sing like Ella Fitzgerald, but when I listen to her, my mirror neurons induce my body to interpret the sound as if I'm producing it, because I see another producing it. This characteristic of our nerve cells are what comprise, amongst other things, our empathetic faculty, and it is this ability that makes possible the frustration of the jealousy we have just defined. I'm interested in the theory of the distributed person. It's the idea that the person is not only a container with a soul swimming inside of it, but a distribution of objects, impressions, and deeds that are shed by and which also influence the person. The power of a person is distributed temporally and spatially. The power of the babeness of Barbarella, or a gesture by Pina Bausch, is attained through experience, as if a history scatters out of her arms as they unfold. But that power is referred to by dispersed factors, just as genes refer to the casual, and a cigarette, despite its deadliness, might refer to female liberty. While I cannot become Mulan without her entire experience, I can adopt some tangible references to her power, her pose, her hairstyle, her equipment, and this may be enough to somewhat appease my jealousy. It was empathy that induced my jealousy on encountering things that interest me, but empathy becomes also my salvation. Setting myself in the character of the bustling organic structures I draw, or the people that contradict my identity as Katarina Rankovic, I am suddenly able to dance new dances because I inhabit new bodies. The landscape thinks itself through me, said Cézanne once in an interview, and I am its consciousness. My empathetic mimesis provides a platform for my environment to think itself through me, and therefore always results in a critique of itself. The phenomenon I reanimate fails in its forgery, often making me look slightly awkward and misplaced, and earnest imitation is transformed into praise, criticism, and novelty. In my future essays, I hope to discuss whether this jealousy-driven empathetic imitation is limited in its application to my theatrical art, or whether, as I suspect, such as in the case of drawing, it is applicable to a wider range of media and artists.